This story was about the adventurer who became a member of the hero party. But he was forced to leave this group because one of his colleagues considered him as useless. So he chose to stay in the borderland region of Zoltan to live a simple life while doing something worthwhile. He dreamed of building his own apothecary in this area, so he did not think too much about being an adventurer. After he going through the guild, the young Tanta approached him, and they talked about the divine blessing. Every person in this world was gifted with what was called divine blessing. Through this, a person's ability could be identified. At night, he remembered the day when one of his colleagues from the hero party, named Ares, talked to him. They knew him by the name Gideon, and Ares gave him the sword, then created a barrier to test him if he could break it using the weapon. Because he could not do it, Ares made it clear to him that this was one reason why he was just a burden to the group because of his weakness. Ares added that he was also becoming a burden to his sister, named Ruti, who was recognized as a hero. He possessed the divine blessing of the guide, and it was one of the things needed to guide a hero. Although Ares admitted that he helped them a lot in their past travels, he frankly said that this time, the group no longer needed him. So Ares suggested to him that he should just leave the group so that his sister would not have a hard time thinking about him. Because he was thinking about his sister's welfare, he was forced to leave the group. Since then, he changed his name to Red and settled there in Zoltan. The next day, while he was picking plants, an owlbear rushed at him. But it was surprised when he suddenly disappeared. He thought of leaving it alone because he was no longer part of the hero party. When he returned to the village, some of the adventurers were surprised that he was still alive because they heard the news that an owlbear had been spotted in the forest. Since he was known to always be in the mountains to collect herbs, the B-rank adventurer, named Albert, offered him to join their group even though he was only a D rank. Albert's group told him that they planned to fight the owlbear and they wanted him to serve as their guide in the forest. But he rejected the offer and reasoned out that besides not being interested in the promotion of the guild, he also did not want them to see his true abilities. When he returned home, his friend Gons went to see him because of Tanta's fever and its having a white eye. Because of this, he immediately went to their house. After he heard the doctor's words, he immediately thought of the blood needles that were necessary medicine to heal Tanta. But because of the owlbear, the guild forbid the adventurers from going to the forest for their safety. Gons begged him to go to the forest to get blood needles. Because of this, he decided to do it in order to save Tanta. He used the lightning speed to speed up his travel and arrive fast in the forest. When he got there, he saw the fire engulfing the forest. He quickly collected the blood needles before these plants were caught by the fire. A few moments later, he noticed a giant creature in front of him. And this was the owlbear that immediately attacked him. He managed to avoid it, and with just one attack he killed the owlbear instantly. Albert's group saw the owlbear's body and his companions thought that Albert had done it. With the help of the blood needles, they were able to save Tanta, and Gons thanked Red for what had done. 4 months later, the famous champion, named Rit, visited their guild. When Rit noticed what Megria was wearing, Megria mentioned that she was going to attend the opening of Red's store. Megria said a lot about Red, which was the reason why Rit got interested in him. The news about Red's success in obtaining the blood needles 4 months ago had also spread in the area, even though the forest was engulfed in fire at that time. Even though Red said that he got them the other day, Megria did not believe him because she could feel that Red had hidden strength to do impossible things. While at Red's house, the opening of his store had started and many people attended it. Red heard the news from other adventurers about the success of Ruti's group in defeating the Gandor's army, which was one of the 4 celestial kings of the Demon Lord. Red thought that the current situation was be better for his sister. One night, Rit went to see him, and it turned out that they both knew each other. Rit was a princess of Logorvia who preferred to become an adventurer so that she and her brother would not get into an argument on the throne. When Rit found out that Ares removed Red from the hero party, she got angry because she knew how valuable Red was in that group. But Red said that it might be better for him to be out of the group because the group was able to defeat the Demon Lord's army when he left. They remembered the day they first met on Logorvia, while Red, or better known as Gideon, was still at the hero party. To defeat the army of the Asura demon, named Shasandan, Logorvia cooperated with the hero party. Rit suggested to attack the enemy's supply depot, to which Gaius quickly agreed, while the hero party was being assigned by Gaius to help in defending the castle. But Riss' plan failed when they learned that Shasandan, who just pretended to be Gaius, already learned about their plan. Fortunately, Gideon suddenly came there to help Rit. At that moment, Shasandan transformed himself into its true form. They fought him until Rudy arrived, who managed to cut off Shasandan's arms and then aimed for its heart. Rit could not believe what she witnessed on how strong Rudy was. Due to the deaths of Riss' comrades, she had lost the courage to continue fighting the enemies. But because of what Gideon said, Riss' courage returned and they were able to defeat the Demon Lord's army that was attacking Lagervia. At present, Rit asked Red if she could work as Red's assistant at the store. Red had a second thought in accepting her because Rit could not leave the guild because she and Albert were the only B-rank adventurers of Zoltan. His another reason was that the sales at his store were still low, so he could not afford to hire an assistant yet. But Riss still insisted on working at his store, and he was forced to accept her. Ares found a replacement of Red or Gideon to serve as their guide in their travels. He introduced her as Tis with the divine blessing of the assassin. So Danon introduced himself with the blessing of martial arts and Theodora with the blessing of the crusader. Rudy came out from the tent to tell Tis that she was their leader and not Ares. Their current mission was to retrieve the weapon left behind by the former demon lord. The next day, the two decided to go to the town and buy a bed for Rit. After they bought the things they needed, they talked about leveling up a person's blessing. And there was a way to level up the blessing granted to the person. This was to fight and kill someone who also had a blessing, and this was what most people usually do to level up themselves. Suddenly, they saw Tanta, who was being beaten by Ademi, so Red went to stop their fight. Because of this, Ademi's group left immediately. Red talked to them and Al said that Ademi's behavior was not like that, but recently he suddenly changed. Then Red told them that Ademi might have discovered his divine blessing. He explained to them that it affects a person's behavior depending on the type of blessing it received. He added that Ademi might have the bar brawler blessing because he was always focused on fighting. They also found out that Al had discovered his blessing of being a weapon master. Even though this blessing was a good one, Al was still not happy with it, if he would turn out to be just like Ademi. While Rit was giving advice to Al, Red remembered her Spirit Scout blessing. He was thinking that it might be the reason why she did not stay in the palace and chose to be free. After they talked to Tanta and Al, they went to the authorities to acquire approval on the medicines created by Red. But Dan did not approve it, so they talked to a higher official of the town. They found out the reason why they became strict on the drug approval because the authorities discovered that a drug which they had approved a month ago was used illegally. It was currently spreading on the black market and even had reached the nobles. This was the reason why their office was being criticized by the people, especially Dan as the person assigned to it. But since it was Riss' personal request, they would approve Red's creation. While at the hero party, it had been several days that passed, but they still did not have clear information on the whereabouts of what they were looking for. Ares said that he was having trouble negotiating with the people living in the area. Gideon was mentioned in the conversation, which Danon said that they had no problem with this matter when he was still with them. Because of this, Danon decided to find Gideon to bring him back to their group. Danon knew that it was a big mistake when they lose Gideon from their group. Rudy came out of her tent and allowed Danon to find Gideon. Danon and Theodora also talked about the possibility that Ares had purposely eliminated Gideon because they knew that he was an obstacle to Ares' plans. Theodora added that even Yaradrala suspected Ares on his mischief, so she beat him up. Yaradrala also recognized Gideon's talent and even amazed at his ability to fight using only his normal skills. Danon also agreed to this because Gideon was a tactician, and he never even once thought that he was a burden to the group. Because of this, they both believed that Ares did not do something bad, for he could not kill Gideon. Meanwhile, the other adventurers could not believe that Red and Rit were together under the same roof. A few hours later, Albert also went to Red's store. Albert took this opportunity while they were alone to ask Red if he was the one who killed the owlbear 4 months ago. What everyone knew was that it was Albert who killed the owlbear, but Albert denied that the big wound was not from his sword. Red still refused to admit the truth, so Albert got annoyed and pointed his sword at him. Rit suddenly came there and immediately attacked Albert. And with the speed of her attack, Albert was unable to defend himself. Red stopped Rit before she could kill Albert, was surprised that Red quickly approached him, who was standing from the counter. In his fear of Riss' anger, he quickly left the store. Rudy and the others continued to travel while Danon looked for Gideon. Because of their current problem in the search, Theodora asked Tis if she was disappointed in her new group. She also informed her that they actually never once had this problem before. It just started when Gideon decided to leave their group, and it seemed like their group was falling. The group needed Gideon, and this was also the reason why Rudy was behaving like this. One day, Red was visited by a senior official of the Adventurers Guild, named Galatine. They wanted to talk to Rit, but Red asked them to wait until the store opened. After a while, they opened the store and a man from the Thieves Guild entered first. He offered Red an elven coin worth 10,000 perils in exchange for Rit. But Red immediately rejected it, and told the man that even if he offered thousands of elven coins, it would not match Riss' value. The man had no other choice but leave, and still hope that Red would change his mind. While outside the store, Rit was also offered by Galatine and his companions, who were trying to convince her to go back to the guild as an adventurer again. But all these offers were also rejected by Rit. When Rit entered the store, she could not believe that the day would come when she would be together with Red in the same house. She remembered those days when they were still at the height of their battle with demons in Lagervia. When Lagervia was in trouble, they also asked for help from Sunland. Gideon thought of a way for them to go through the bewitching woods. Although it was difficult for people to pass, the demons would also find it hard to get there. Red met the elf Yaradrala for the first time, who had the blessing of the Singer of the Trees. During their meeting, Gideon said that Yaradrala would become the key to his strategy. With the help of Yaradrala's blessing, they could immediately know what was happening in the entire forest. Because of this, they were easily alerted that there were demons waiting at the exit of the bewitching woods. Gideon thought of distracting the opponents while Rudy and the rest would destroy the enemy's defense. Even though Rit and Ares knew that it was dangerous, Rudy still trusted Gideon's strategy, so she assigned Yaradrala to accompany Gideon. And with the help of the reinforcements from Sunland, they successfully defeated the demons who were positioned in the area. Since Lagervia had to be rebuilt, Rit decided to stay there to help the people. Meanwhile, the Thieves Guild made a plan to make Rit return as an adventurer. They hired the adventurer, named Dur, to persuade and convince Rit. In the afternoon, while Rit was delivering the medicines, Dur went to talk to her. But no matter how he tried to plead for her to come back, he still failed to convince her. On the other hand, Rudy could not help but remember her brother every time she was alone every night. It was the day when Ares informed her about the sudden departure of Gideon. Ares told her that Gideon would only serve as a scout to watch over the other army of the Demon Lord. Rudy suddenly thought that Ares had done something bad to Gideon, so she attacked him, and it caused severe stomach injury to Ares. Realizing what she did, Rudy immediately healed him with her healing power and apologized to Ares. As they continued their journey, they arrived not far from the ruins of the former Demon Lord. Ares said that there was a high possibility that the weapon that they were looking for could be found there. While Tis was fetching water, Rudy approached her. Tis suddenly asked Rudy if she had enough sleep, because every time she peeked into her tent, she always see her awake. Rudy answered that she was not taking her sleep, and it was the hero blessing that helped her, so she would not feel tired. This also included the need for food because she was not feeling hungry and other things. Even those unnecessary emotions had been removed from her senses. One day, while Red and Rit were talking, someone suddenly entered the store, and it was a wounded man. Knowing that it was not just an accident, Rit quickly went out the store to see what was happening outside. She saw there one of the members of Albert's group, named Campbell, and his victims lying on the ground. The two of them fought, but some of Campbell's comrades also came there with their axes. After a while someone attacked Campbell and his men, and it turned out to be Albert. Rit asked him on what happened to Campbell, but Albert had no idea about it. One day, another member of Albert's group, named Rhea, visited them to apologize for what their former colleague did to Rit. They had also talked about Albert, who according to Rhea was being irritated because they could not meet Albert's expectations of them. Albert had a divine blessing, the champion, which was why he could overcome various trials as an adventurer. This was what pushes Albert to show the whole world his ability, but he was disappointed in their situation. Rhea was worried that Albert might leave Zoltan, but Red told her that he was sure that Albert would not do it. While Danon was in a bar, a man approached him to ask if he was looking for Gideon. He introduced himself as Bowie and was also looking for Gideon. He also offered Dannon that they should cooperate in the search for Gideon. One night during the heavy rain, someone knocked on the door of Red's store. When he opened the door, he saw the doctor carrying Al, who had blood on its head. The doctor said that he might be hit by a stone because there were small pieces of it on his head. When Al regained consciousness, he suddenly screamed and said that a demi went to their house and attacked his parents with its axe. They were shocked on this, so they immediately went to Al's house, and they saw Al's parents lying on the floor. Fortunately, they were still alive but they had minor injuries on their bodies. After the incident, Ademi suddenly disappeared from their village. Ademi's father was named Moen, who was also the captain of the town guards. The citizens of Southmarsh went to him and were very angry because they suspect that he was hiding his son. Al's parents were recovering at the mansion of a Thieves Guild official, named Big Hawk, while Al was in the care of Red. Suddenly, Al begged them to teach him how to use a sword. Because of this, Rit did not hesitate to teach him. While they were resting, Gons came and informed them about Tanta, who was being captured by the town's guards. They went to Galatine for a guild to request on a joint inquiry with the town guards. With the help of Rit, Galatine agreed to this and made a request letter so they could take it to the town guards. When they arrived there, Mian immediately confronted them. After they were able to get Tanta, they talked about Ademi. They found out that Mian was not hiding his son from them. They took Tanta so they could ask him about Ademi, because the soldiers had a hunch that he had been killed by the residents of Southmarsh. It was also possible that it was not Ademi who Al saw that attacked his parents. Mian added that there were many puzzles in this incident, including the survival of Tanta's parents and Ademi's choice in using the axe. Even Tanta could not believe that Ademi could do this because they had just talked the other day. Ademi apologized to him and promised not to hurt other people for no reason. Because they had a hunch that the illegal medicine that was spreading had something to do with it, Mian talked to Red and Rit about this matter and told the others to go home first. Mian asked Rit's help to catch the smugglers of these drugs. So Red went home alone and Rit was left in the town. Then Red decided to help Al with his weapon handling training. While they were resting, Al mentioned that a man entered their store and gave him a weapon. Al suspected that the man was connected to Big Hawk because his father told this man that his divine blessing had been awakened. While in town, Rit immediately caught the drug smuggler. But there had been a sudden explosion, and in a few moments the rest of its colleagues also arrived. While Rit was fighting them, a man helped her knock down the enemies. It turned out to be Dannon, and he mentioned to Rit his plan to take Red or Gideon back to the group. Dannon already knew that Gideon was there in Zoltan, and he heard that his was living a simple life there. When Dannon removed the enemy's hood, Rit was surprised that it was a demon. So she wondered what made the demons come to Zoltan. Although Dannon needed the help of Red and Rit in eliminating the demons in the area, he asked her not to let Red know that he was in Zoltan. When Rit got home, Red showed her the weapon that Al received from the man. Using Rit's power, they found out what materials were in it and where it was made. In addition to this, Rit was sure that this weapon had a locate spell, which made Red wonder why Big Hawk wanted to know Al's location. Meanwhile, when Rudy's group arrived at the ruins, they faced the gargantuan demon. Rudy ordered Tease to find the weapon, while they would fight the demon. Rudy attacked the enemy first and it was followed by Theodora's attack. The demon attacked Ares. Fortunately, Rudy quickly blocked it. With the help of Tease's pet spider, they quickly found the thing inside the big room. After several attacks, Rudy and Theodora managed to defeat the gargantuan demon. When Tease returned, she took them to where she saw the big thing. They were surprised that it turned out to be an airship, so they used it on their travel. Rit went to the town and she brought the weapon that was given to Al. She was ambushed by the Thieves Guild led by Dur, who were thinking that it was Al. They were surprised when Rit took off her hood. Dur was annoyed that Rit outsmarted them, so they attacked her. But Rit quickly defeated them. Then a man appeared holding an axe. Rit knew that this was no longer a human, so it transformed into its form as an axe demon. But Rit did not know that the Thieves Guild knew her plan. That's why a man, named Godwin, took Al. It turned out that they planned to make Al the hero of Southmarsh and he was brought to Big Hawk. He was also the initiator of the creation and distribution of the illegal drug which they call the Devil's Blessing. They present Al to the citizens of Southmarsh, who were furious on what Ademi did to Al's parents. It turned out that they were also the one who hid Ademi, and Blackhawk wanted Al to kill him for revenge. But instead of taking revenge on him, Al preferred to release Ademi. Out of disappointment, Godwin brought out the axe that attracted Ademi because it turned out that he had drunk the devil's blessing. When Ademi got the axe, a man suddenly came in and cut the axe's handle. It was Red who also attacked the enemies. He used his power to save both Al and Ademi, and they quickly left the area. While they were resting, they were approached by Bowie, who was asked by Rit to execute their plan. But the Thieves' Guild including Albert appeared again, so Red decided to face them first. Red fought against Albert, who was surprised because Red could keep up with him even though Red was only at D level. At that moment, Red found out that Big Hawk was possessed by a demon. Then Albert offered Red to work with him so he could achieve his dream of becoming a hero. But Albert was surprised when the town guards came there with Galatine. Albert could not accept that he would be caught by them, so he attacked Red, but Red just avoided it and cut off one of his hands. Red told him that he had expected Albert to be the hero of Zoltan because he knew about its desire to become a hero. Bowie brought Al and Ademi to the people of Southmarsh to encourage them to forget about revenge and go back to their respective home. At night, while Big Hawk was in jail, Bowie visited him. He was surprised when Bowie called him Belial, which was his real name as a demon, so he immediately thought that this person was Shasandan. He cancelled the contract with Big Hawk and it transformed into a demon. Then he went to Albert's prison and they formed a contract. When Bowie went to Albert's prison, it was Gon, who happened to met with Rudy. Belial offered Rudy to drink the medicine created by Godwin to increase the level of her power even more while fighting demons. But Rudy became more interested in its side effect of reducing her power level so that she would not be recognized as a hero when she went to Zoltan. The next morning, she left Ares and Theodora, and took only Tis with her to operate the airship. When they reached Zoltan, Rudy changed her name to Ruhr, and pretended to be a simple traveler. But a town guard, named Otto, was asking those who crossed the bridge for 100 perils, so Rudy used her strength and threw him away. When Red was about to pass, Otto also blocked him to take his money, and just like what his sister did, he also just threw him away with one punch. In the evening, when Red got back, the town guard who's guarding the gate invited him to have a drink. While they were drinking, Tis also came there to eat. They both could feel that each of them was not just an ordinary person. When Tis got back to where they were staying, Tis informed Rudy that she met a man who might be a problem for them, because he noticed immediately that she was hiding her weapons. The next night, Rudy and Tis went to Godwin's prison to order him to create the devil's blessing. In Godwin's fear of Rudy's stares, he agreed immediately, and he was taken out of jail. The next morning, they decided to heal Godwin's wounds first. Since Rudy did not want to use her healing hands, and to avoid other people to recognize her as a hero, they thought of going to the well-known apothecary, which was Red's store. When they entered the store, Tis was surprised to see Red, but Rudy was more surprised as well as Red when they met each other. Rudy immediately hugged Red, and Gons was surprised that Red's real name was Gideon. When Gons left, the siblings talked and Red told Rudy the real reason why he left the hero party. Rudy also mentioned that since Red disappeared from the group, their journey became difficult for them. When Red heard this, he was surprised because he thought that the group's missions had become easier when he left the group. Even though Rudy offered him to return to the group, Red could not accept it anymore. Because of this, Rudy also decided to live there in Zoltan, which surprised Red and Tis. When Rit came, she was also surprised when she heard Rudy's plan to live there with them. While they were on their way home, Rudy suddenly felt a pain in her chest. She knew that it was because of what she said that she would stay in Zoltan even though she was a hero. When they got to where they were staying, Rudy informed Tis of her plan to find the ancient elven ruins, which was located in the forest near where their airship landed. Even Bowie was also planning to find the ancient elven ruins. The next day, Rudy and Tisses went back to Red's store to help, but the customers would leave because they were afraid of Rudy. Red took Rudy to the sauna, and even the owner of the sauna was scared when Rudy stared at him. While Ares and Theodora decided to follow Rudy and they took Albert with them. Theodora and Albert talked and he mentioned that there was something strange about the person who injured his hand. He said that he could not understand why that person did not become a champion even though he was so strong. Theodora told him that even though they were given a divine blessing, it doesn't mean that they did not have their own decision to take a different path. She added that it was still up to them to decide what they would do with their lives. While the three girls were taking a bath at Red's house, Rudy told them about her reason for admiring her older brother since they were young. Because of her hero blessing, she had to risk her life to save those who needed help. One time, when the owlbear beat her up, she screamed for help from her older brother, who immediately came and killed the enemy. Her older brother was always by her side whenever she's in trouble and hurt, and this made her happy. Because of Rudy's words, it was only that moment that Tess realized its true feelings. She thought that it might only be Rudy's brother who could save her from the hardships she was going through, but it also occurred to her that she and Rit could also do something for her. Tess decided to tell Red and Rit about the conversation regarding the contract of demon Belial with Rudy and the devil's blessing that Rudy was drinking. Because of this, Red decided to talk to Godwin, who was currently in the ancient elven ruins, to find out other information on the devil's blessing. Tess informed Red about Godwin's request for alchemical tools. Red told her that he would search for these in the town. Theodora and the others arrived in Zoltan, and Ares looked for a place for them to stay. When Red saw the materials for Godwin, he was surprised to meet Danon in town. When Theodora and Albert were in the same place, Theodora used magic so that Red and Danon would not notice them. Red told Danon that Rudy was also in Zoltan, and was currently struggling because of her hero blessing. Danon also decided to help Red save Rudy from her suffering. Ares was visited by Shasandan, who disguised itself as Danon. He mentioned that he had seen Gideon in the area and was currently running an apothecary with Rit. Ares was annoyed that Gideon was just having fun with a princess while he was struggling, so he decided to go to Red's store. When they went to the store, he destroyed all the equipments and items inside it. While the real Danon and Red were on their way to Rudy's location, Red was surprised to know that Shasandan was still alive. Red thought that they had killed Shasandan in Lagervia, but Danon was sure that Shasandan was the one he fought that day. After a while, they saw a dragon heading towards Rudy's location, but they did not notice that Ares and Shasandan were riding it. Then Danon told Red to go ahead so he could get to Rudy faster. Red saw Rit and Tess, and he also mentioned to them that he met with Danon. So Rit admitted that she and Danon also met the other day. Since Rit did not notice any change in Danon when they met, Red mentioned that Danon's hand had been cut off. And Rit was shocked when she heard that it was done by Shasandan, which she also thought that they had already defeated it in Lagervia. Because of this, they immediately thought that Shasandan might be the one Rit had met the other night. Red reached the ancient elven ruins first. When he entered a room there, he drew his sword and saw Godwin. He made a way to make him scream, and Rudy appeared immediately. While Danon was still on his way, a dragon came down with Theodora on board. Rit and Tess had also entered the ancient elven ruins, and they met Red, who was with his sister. Then they discussed their plan to talk to Godwin about the devil's blessing. Rudy also mentioned that the devil's blessing had no effect on her. Then Red asked why she was able to weaken the effect of the hero blessing. So Rudy told him about a nameless blessing that appeared in her, but it has no skills or impact on her body. They talked to Godwin about this, and Godwin replied that if the devil's blessing did not work on Rudy as well as the nameless blessing, it was possible that those had no disturbing effect on her body. Suddenly, Tess felt something coming, and it turned out to be Plague Eyes. Rudy attacked them with her lightning judgment. Then she went to the source of the Plague Eyes, and Red followed her. When they got to a room, they saw Ares standing there. Ares asked Rudy to come with him on a travel, but Rudy made it clear to him that she would not travel again because she already decided to live there as an ordinary citizen. This angered Ares and blamed it towards Red, so he suddenly attacked him. Because of what he did, Rudy got angry at him, so she retaliated against him. When Rudy and Red left, Shasandan transformed himself as Bowie, and intended to give Ares a healing potion, but Ares healed himself. Ares already knew that Bowie was an Asura demon because he used the appraisal skill on him. And he found out that he had no blessing, which as far as he knew it was only the Asura demon did not have it. Bowie asked Ares for them to work together because the relic of the first hero was said to be inside the ruins. He also told Ares that he could use this to get Rudy back on his side. Because of Ares' desire to bring Rudy back to him, he agreed to Bowie's offer. Tis also felt that Ares was with someone else, which made Red thought that it might be Shasandan. While Danon and his companions also arrived in the ancient elven ruins. Danon quickly reached the location of Ares and immediately attacked Bowie or Shasandan after taking the sword from the skeleton. Shasandan retaliated, but Danon was able to counter his attack. After this, Danon beat up Shasandan, so he asked Ares for help and Ares used a storm javelin that affected Danon. Because of this, Shasandan got a chance to attack Danon. Suddenly, Shasandan transformed into its demon form. He repeatedly attacked Danon, but Danon was able to break all of his swords. Unfortunately, Danon did not expect that his opponent would use its foot to attack, causing him to be defeated. They continued their search until they found 5 holy demon slayers in a room, which surprised Ares because he thought that there was only one of it. Then Shasandan told him that those were just replicas of the holy demon slayer which used by the first hero, and they were called sacred avengers. In order for Rudy to prioritize her return as a hero, Ares had to do 2 things. First, one of the sacred avengers must be given to Rudy, and secondly, the reason for her to leave his hero status should be lost, and it was her brother Red or Gideon. Shasandan took one of it and gave it to Ares. When Gideon felt that Shasandan was behind the other door, Rudy returned the Thunderwaker sword to him. After opening the door, they saw Shasandan, who looked like Gaius, so Rit immediately rushed to kill him. Rit was able to track Shasandan's location and Red also helped to fight him. Ares attacked Red with its paralyzing flame. Because of this, Rudy used the sacred magic shield to protect Red and Rit. Then they both attacked each other. On the other hand, Godwin was about to leave there, but the dragon blocked him, but Tis attacked it. When Albert and Theodora saw Danon, Albert quickly helped him. Rudy used a great whirlwind, and with its great power, the dragon died immediately and the sacred avenger was also broken. Tis felt that someone was coming from below, and it turned out to be Theodora, who immediately bound Rit. Then she also attacked Rudy, and Theodora said that she had to sacrifice Rudy and continue being a hero for the sake of the world. The dragon grabbed on Rit, but when she was able to get away from it, Red had the opportunity to kill the dragon. Ares used an iron wall and threw it at Red and Rit, who were in the elevator, causing it to fall. Rudy managed to defeat Theodora, but when Shasandan attacked her, her sword had been broken, and they both fell to the bottom. Tis was about to attack Ares, but he got ahead of her using the tornado cutter. As Red and Rit were falling down, Danon positioned at the bottom, and he was able to save them, then bring them back to the top. When Ares was about to attack Red, Tis's pet spider was able to stop his fingers, so Red was able to attack Ares and cut off its hands. While the fight between Rudy and Shasandan continued below. Shasandan used the sacred avengers, but when Rudy was able to remove one of it from Shasandan's hand, she punched him hard and the other sacred avengers were also destroyed. Rudy picked up the fallen sacred avenger and repeatedly attacked Shasandan. Shasandan was happy because his plan to make Rudy to hold the sacred avenger was successful. When Rudy returned to her companions, she suddenly attacked Red, but Tis blocked it. Red asked Rit to take care of Tis, as Rudy continued to attack him. With the power of Rudy's attack, it almost cut the Thunderwaker sword. Because of this, Red decided to use another sword. After Rudy's attack, it quickly cut Red's sword into 2. But Red was able to remove the sacred avenger from Rudy's hand. After this, Rudy regained her consciousness and cried to her brother. Danon and Albert came, while Rit was worried because her power was not enough to heal Tis's wound. Rudy tried to heal her, but she could no longer use her healing hands. She could not accept that her healing power was not working when she needed it most. She also blamed herself, for she was the one who did this to Tis. Theodora approached them and offered to heal Tis. A few days later, Rudy's blessing had a name and it was the New Truth. One of its abilities was the so-called ruler, that can control other blessings, and this was what Rudy used to stop her hero blessing. This was the last episode of the Banished from the Heroes Party. I hope you like it and give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel so you won't miss newly uploaded videos. Thank you for watching.